Okay, we are live. Hey, I'm Michael Kingswood. I write fiction for fun and profit, and you can't see her, but my puppy Freya just sat down behind me. Okay, and this is story time. And oh snap! Hey, I'm Michael Kingswood. I write fiction for fun and profit. I turned on my. Can't see her. But... Shoot! I screwed that up. I went and turned on a video stream to make sure it was working, and it piped into the live thing. It shows you how much I do this. Anyway, so I've been on the making video thing here for a while and been trying to figure out how to do better at it. And I said, you know, myself, maybe it'd be helpful if I just went live and talked about a whole bunch of things at the same time. Then I could clip them and space it out over the week and make things a little easier on myself. We're going to do that. So this is, back in the day, I did a little thing called the deep dive where I talked about things, and naval things, and what have yous, and never really did that much with it, but I thought it was a good concept, and I liked the name because I'm a submarine guy. Obviously, submariners go deeper, and submariners go down longer. Whatever you want to say about it, it's a factual thing. But the I figured I'd use that name for this, and maybe we'll do this on a weekly basis or more often as the fancy catches me. But we're going to see how this works out tonight. I don't expect very many people to actually see it, but if somebody does and they enjoy it, well, hey, all the better. But for now, here we are. Actually, you know what I'm going to do real quick before I do anything else? I know there's a thing I've got put into, well, hey, all the better. The thing I've got put into OBS here to make chat show up supposedly works, but in case it doesn't, I'm going to pull up the chats and everything else in case somebody happens to pop in here, which I don't really expect, but hey, you never know. Anyway, since, you know, I don't do this live thing that often. So let's get rolling here. First thing I want to do is share this fun video that I made of this book I'm about to put out in just about a week. It's awesome. I love it. You're going to like it. It's called Warfare Qualified. Check it out. Pretty good, huh? So I've got the book right here. This is the color hardcover edition of the book, which is pretty nice because obviously it's in color. So I see made the fun art showing the yeah, I know you're here, doggy. Be nice. Showing the warfare insignia of the guys, ship schematics. What else do I got? Organizational charts, all kinds of fun stuff in the color version. You can get all that good art in the black and white versions, the paperback or black and white hardcover editions. But you know, what's the fun of that when you hear the dog, right? Yeah. So you can't resist going out onto the balcony to bark at neighbors, and of course, anyway, you love dogs, so do I. But anyway, what was I about to say? Yeah, so the black paperback and the black and white hardcover edition doesn't show the art in the greatest full color glory, but the color hardcover version does, which is why it's more pricey because it costs more to print. Color, obviously. Anyway, but to get that book, here is my website, michaelkingswood.com/store. Will get you over here, and you can get your format of choice, and it's pretty awesome. Of course, I'm over here on Amazon as well. Oopsie, the wrong thing there. What was I looking at? I'll go back over here. Let me fix my Amazon store because I suck so much. I was looking at microphones because my friend who is a full-time streamer was advising me I needed to get a better microphone, but you know, I was looking at which ones to get. Anyway, let's get over here to my book on Amazon. And there it is, Warfare Qualified, military science fiction novel. A whole lot of other good stuff going on there, and you can go and check it out there. Of course, that's not the only place you can get it. You can get it pretty much every retail place it is. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Let me put it over here on the Books to Read link. This is the Universal link where you can see all the various stores. bookstoread.com/WQ. Anyway, so that's me pimping my stuff at the beginning of the stream here because that's what I like to do. Whole purpose of me being on YouTube and Rumble and the rest is to bring attention to what I do and me, and if people like me and like my stories, they'll go and buy some. That's why I put out Story Saturday here on Saturday, and on Tuesdays lately I've been going through the first of my heroic fantasy novels, chapter by chapter, to let people maybe hopefully see what they like and decide they like it and pick up some more of the books. Anyway, the other thing I like to do here on the channel is talk about things writing, things philosophizing, and other things. And lately I've been commenting on some other writing videos and stuff that are out there in the YouTube Rumble land. And one guy I've enjoyed his videos quite a bit, and I've commented on them over time, is this guy named Carl Duncan. And he does a lot of writing videos. And I figured we'd talk through a couple of things, 2 videos of his that I rather enjoyed and thought that he had some good points, but stuff that I wanted to elucidate upon as well. So let's go over to good old Carl here. You can see he's much better at the YouTube gig than I am. And certainly his decor is nice, although I've got my awesome Warfare Qualified poster there and the even more awesome Star Trek poster there, so I think I've got him when it comes to background decor. But not to cast aspersion, but my man Carl here, he makes some good videos, good commentary about writing stuff, and so let's see what he's got to say. 5 harsh writing truths. Let's go.
Image that you are a perfect writer and can create a perfect piece of work that is beyond any sort of criticism. Put away your participation trophies and get ready for some real advice. Today, I'm sharing 5 harsh writing truths that you might not be prepared to hear. Wasn't this whole
Hang on a second there, buddy. My stuff's awesome. Anyway, let's go.
like harsh truths video thing a trend in like 2018? I guess I'm only 8 years late to the trend, which is pretty good for me. All right, first up, harsh truth number 1. Writing even an exciting novel is going to be mostly boring tedium. The people who are most successful at writing are the ones who can stand the most boredom. If a project needs to be constantly engaging and exciting, then you're going to be disappointed and you likely won't finish it.
So, yeah, the fact about this is everybody gets excited. Oh, look, my doggy. Are you done barking? You going to be quiet for a change? Silly girl. You want to say hi? You're a little too small for it. Just hang out here. Anyway, sorry. The fun thing about writing, or really any project, but writing in particular is falls victim to this, is people will start a project. Oh man, I get this great idea, and you get into it, and they get a couple chapters in, or a couple thousand words in, or whatever, and then like, oh man, that I'm okay. It's gonna take some effort to finish this, and then other ideas come up. And people get distracted and they never finish what they start because they're chasing the immediate excitement thing. But he's right. I mean, sometimes it can be a little bit of a slog to finish. I mean, you like what you're doing, but sometimes, especially in the middle, the doldrums in the middle, it can be. For me, when I'm writing, I tend to have an idea what I'm doing, and I start, and then I'm like, okay, fleshing it out, and then I have an idea, and then I realize, okay, I know how this is going to end. But getting there, it's like, son of a gun, I already know how it's going to end. Why do I have to do this? But of course you have to, otherwise it doesn't get finished, right? So I think that's what he's talking about here. Let's get back to him, because we're here to talk about him, not me. Well, I'm here to comment on him. You know what I mean.
The sort of novel passion that you have for your novel is likely not going to be sustained through the entire project. Sure.
Yeah, that's what I just said.
Sure, on the first draft, you'll love it. The story will seem fresh and engaging. The words will spring forth like an El Nino-fueled February ice melt. Wait until the 3rd or 4th revision. Wait until you've gone over chapter 6 12 times. Wait until you need to go through and massage the sentence structure, or alter the word count, or fix a plot hole that your 11th beta reader found, which was somehow missed by the first 10. Writing.
This is where he loses me, because, dude, your 4th or 5th revision? Your 11th beta reader thing? I'm a believer in the Heinlein's rules thing. Don't revise except at editorial demand. Now, that doesn't mean you never change anything. But if you're going back and rewriting a thing 6 times, you've already killed it. It's one thing to get, editorial advice and, proofreading and things like that, or a couple of rounds of people beta reading or whatever you want to call it. It's another thing to call it. He's talking about and doing it 6 times. No, don't do that. That's painful. That's enough to, that sort of pain that he's talking about, that'll kill anything. Don't do that.
Something as big as a novel quickly becomes a slog. It becomes hard. Pushing through that is something very few people can manage, and it's why so many people struggle to finish writing their novel. Yes, you can be passionate about a project, even in love with it. You can have a vision and a goal and a burning desire to get it done. Yes, you should feel all the same emotions that you're hoping the reader will feel. Sadness, happiness, joy, excitement. But you are not going to fanatically run towards your project every single day. There are going to be days when you feel like doing anything else, where just the mere thought of writing will push the bile to the very back of your throat.
This is where it becomes, are you going to be a professional or not? Right? Because everything sucks when you do it for a living, right? Sometimes. Everybody's job sucks sometimes, but everybody's job they like sometimes too. I was in the Navy 20 years. I enjoyed being in the Navy. I really liked driving submarines and ships and being out to sea and doing stuff. But man, there were things about it that just were the worst things in all of creation. Never asked me about nuclear power in the Navy. Anyway, but the worst thing is all creation. But you still got to do it, right? If you're a writer and you think you're going to be a professional, and be like, oh gosh, I don't feel I'm not passionate about the thing. Well, shut up and do it anyway. Who cares about your passion? Are you going to complete the project or not? Are you going to be a professional or not? And yeah, you got to do it. And that's what he's talking about here. I'm just being more harsh about it than he is.
The writers who can still produce on those days, that will see the most improvement and will get the most work done. And that is only a small fraction of people. Next up, harsh truth number 2. I can't say harsh truth very well. Harsh truth number 2, you will likely never reach your full potential as a writer. Have you heard those stories where like a parent will pull a Mack truck off one of their kids in a massive burst of adrenaline? Have you also found it hard to get any work done on a Saturday, even though you've rested with a 12-hour nap and have eaten 3,800 calories of Doritos and pizza? Your body and mind...
I'm going to guess my man here has done that a few times. Of course, in reality, I don't know that I've done 3,800 calories of Doritos. But pizza? Oh yeah. Pizza and sketty, those are my weaknesses. I'll just go all day on them. Anyway, to writing.
Are wired in so many ways to make you do as little work as possible. Unless you're starving or your life is in danger or you haven't, in a while, then your body and mind are perfectly happy letting you sit around and accomplish nothing. Everyone can probably write significantly more than they do. Everyone can probably work significantly harder than they do.
But that doesn't mean you need to, right? The metric isn't how hard you work. The metric isn't always how much you produce. Now, the more you produce, the more likely you are to get readers and have people notice it. But we sometimes get so focused on work that we miss out on other things that are also important. Now, I'm not sure if that's what he's talking about or not, but do what you can in the way that works for you, but don't kick yourself if you're not doing as much as you think you should be doing, because maybe that's really not possible, or maybe you shouldn't. That said, there's a fine line between that and giving an excuse for being lazy, right? So there's a balance there. If you're making progress and getting production done and getting things finished and meeting your goals, then don't kill yourself too much. Don't kick yourself too much if you happen to stop to watch a movie on a Saturday afternoon or something. That's something I have to remind myself about.
Everyone probably has potential that they're not realizing. There is a very, very small minority of people out there working to their actual potential, because doing that is extremely hard to do. It's exhausting. It involves sacrifices. You have to do it like literally every day. There are very few people who actually work that hard. But for the majority of us, including myself, we are not reaching our full potential. We are not doing all that we could be doing. Working smarter and more efficiently can get you part of the way there, but there's little substitute for seat time. You just need to be putting effort in, putting time in. You will be a...
And that's true. The Dean Wesley Smith has I don't know how famous it is, but he often will, when he's talking about writing, if you don't know who he is, he's a science fiction guy. I've been working in science fiction for decades, with Star Trek and a whole bunch of other movie things, and done thriller novels and ghost writ for a bunch of people, and he writes mysteries and fantasy stuff under his own name, and he's just crushing it for decades. A professional poker player, just really cool guy. But he often will castigate people for not producing by just pointing out that if you could do 1,000 words an hour, 15 minutes will do 250 words. And if you could do 15 minutes a day, 250 words a day, you've got a 90,000 word novel in a year. 15 minutes a day will get you a novel, a 90,000 word novel in a year. Imagine if you did 2 hours a day, right? You would be like considered like one of the most prolific people in the planet by some people's standards, right? I say that I mention that just because it's his way of pointing out how low the bar is that people set for themselves sometimes, right? I mean, so you don't have to kill yourself with effort to achieve a lot, but people don't do as much as and so people don't think they can do as much as they really can do if they really look at what it takes to do what they think they want to do. Does that make any sense? Right? If you really analyze it, it's not as hard as you think it is, and we make it harder than it has to be, and so we don't do what we think we want to do because we overload ourselves with it, and then we kick ourselves for not doing enough because we haven't really thought it through and don't really realize that the effort that we're putting in is maybe not good enough, but the effort we need to put in isn't as tremendous as we think it is. We just overthink it. Does that make sense? Yeah, anyway, back to Carl.
Very old person someday, unless you already are one today. Looking back and realizing that you could have written more novels, you could have gotten better at improving your skills, you could have done more. But doing more is hard, and most people won't do it. Harsh truth number 3, some of your favorite ideas likely won't work. There's a phrase passed around in writing circles that goes something like kill your darlings, or there's some other variations of that phrase. Different people interpret this phrase in different ways, but one of the interpretations has to do with scenes or plots or characters or even entire novels that you, the writer, really like, but end up not working. Sometimes they don't fit with the overall tone of the story. Sometimes they break something in the setting. Sometimes they make a character act in a way that's a violation of their characterization. Sometimes it's just blatant coolness that the writer really wants to cram in, but it just doesn't really fit for...
Yeah, that is a true thing. Yeah, kill your darlings. I think that's mostly talked about in an editorial context, right? Sometimes when you're trimming, you don't want to get rid of something, but it doesn't really serve the story much, and you really should. So don't be afraid to kill your darlings. Kill a thing you really like to make your story better, right? What he's talking about is also a thing, right? Sometimes you really want to do something, and it's just, is it really helpful or not? And that falls on the same thing. I did a thing like that in my story here, this one, the Pericles Conspiracy. Great story, alien first contact, but not really. You don't really see much of the aliens until towards the end, but it's really about the political ramifications of the first contact. And in here, which, if you haven't read it, you really should. It's a great book. But in here, one of the things, I had this really great idea for this scene, right? Seduction that turns into murder, and it's great. And I wrote it. It's a great scene. I loved it. And it's actually in the book, but now, a few years later, looking back on it, it's like, probably doesn't need to be in there. Right? In fact, it's before the scene with the seduction that leads to murder, the person who gets murdered meets the person who who does the seduction that leads to murder, and then the next scene is the news story about the person being murdered. So, did you really need to have that in there? Probably not. Could have been trimmed out a bit and made it everything's more streamlined. And yeah, at this point, 10 years after writing it, am I going to go back and take it out? No. But would it have been, might it have been nice to take it out to begin with? I don't know. It's a great scene. It's fun. But yeah, it's one of those things that, I don't know. When you read the book, you can tell me if you think it's worth being in there or not. But anyway, but that sort of thing happens all the time, right? People get attached to the things they're doing, and sometimes it doesn't really serve the story or not. That's the question.
Various reasons. Or maybe it's something that you really, really like, but your beta readers or critique partners hate or don't get.
Who cares what critique partners say? No, seriously, critique partners are writers that are just as amateur as you are, sitting around talking about the stories if you've written in your little critique group of amateur writers who are, passing stories around each week and then taking each other's feedback and endlessly rewriting the same stories over and over because you're all amateurs and don't know what you're talking about anyway, and never getting better because you're taking advice from amateurs. And then you've always got the one person who's does the crab in the bucket routine to try to make themselves feel better by dragging everybody else down. So now critique groups, nah, heck with that.
Or they suggest you do something completely different. Sometimes you'll be able to fix it and make it work, but sometimes the only thing to do is to let it go, to kill your darling. For the good of your novel, a scene you are absolutely in love with, a scene that you spent perhaps weeks imagining and hours writing, will likely end up on the scrap heap. It will hurt.
Dude, how long does he think it takes to write a scene? Weeks imagining? Okay. Anyway.
Hurt, but your project will be better for it. Harsh truth number 4. Your ideas, as great as they are, don't really matter all that much.
Yeah, ideas are a dime a dozen. Amateur writers and beginning people will be like, oh my gosh, I can't talk about my idea because somebody might steal it, and then they might steal my idea and write a book, and then they'll steal my book because they stole my idea, and then they'll cash in on my idea. And no, that's never going to happen. Because everybody has... There's no new ideas, right? What makes for a new and original book is how you put your twist on the idea that's not new. I've said it before here, if you, the nebulous, nameless you out there, were to come to me with an idea for a book, or even an outline for a book, and we both took it and wrote books and came back 6 months later and compared books, your book would be completely different from mine. Because you produced your book, I produced my book, they come from us. It's an expression of ourselves. To an extent. Right? The author, this is how come you can read a page and realize that, well, that was Murakami, and boy, that was definitely Larry Correa. I mean, because everybody has their own voice, their own experience, their own way of expressing things, their own ideas flow, right? So ideas, it doesn't matter. But there's enough people who don't understand this, who can cause problems. There are people who sue Hollywood or sue comic books or sue whatever, saying you took my idea and made a movie of it, and it's a BS suit, but it still costs a lot of money to deal with it, even though it's BS, even just to get it thrown out because it is BS. And so a lot of times, a lot of these big places, I'm told, don't even take pitches anymore because they don't want to deal with that kind of jackassery. So yeah, your idea doesn't matter. It's what you make of it. And the only person who can make of it what you make of it is you.
Execution matters way more than your ideas.
Yes.
There's this obsession among some people around ideas. Usually it's with very beginner writers or people who aren't writers.
Yeah, that's what I just said.
These are the people who tend to get fixated on ideas. These folks like to talk about ideas and the quality of different ideas and ask people if they think their idea is worth turning into a novel. They'll worry whether they have a good enough idea, and they'll ask famous authors where these authors get their ideas. Ideas are important, but execution matters a lot more. Execution is also a lot harder.
The whole where do you get your ideas thing, you know what happens a lot of times is where do you get your idea from? And sometimes you just sit down and just start writing and the idea comes as you go. Right? What was it? Who was it? Was it Marlowe? Damn it. one of those old noir guys. He always said, if you get stuck on your novel, don't know what you're doing, just have a guy walk through the door with a gun. Go. And you take it. Sometimes it just flows out. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
Excellent execution of a mediocre idea will almost always outperform a mediocre execution of an excellent idea.
True.
Imagining a story is relatively easy. Writing it down in a way that captures your vision is the hard part. This goes beyond just the writing world, whether it's in business or research or work or other art forms. It's the people who can execute on ideas well who do well, even if the ideas aren't that original or novel. Building good skills around execution will always get you farther. It's way harder, but it will be worth it. And lastly, harsh truth number 5, you will never finish your novel, only abandon. Because as they say, great art is never finished, only abandoned.
I disagree. But let's see what he's got to say.
I wonder if whoever came up with that quote was going to add more to it. At some point, you will need to walk away from your project. For a work in progress to become a not work in progress requires only one step. Well, actually several steps, because you're walking away from it, which implies more than one. And with this walking away comes the potential for regret, or worse. At some point, your work will be out in the world without you, either tucked away in a dusty drawer or on the shelves of a bookstore or an Amazon warehouse. And from your newfound distance, you'll be able to observe many things. Maybe you could have fixed chapter 6.
Maybe not. No, I mean, you can always, maybe you can think of something you want to do, but if you're constantly producing more stuff, you don't really go back and think about the old stuff and how to fix it much, because you're working on the new stuff. But also, what's the point? It was what it was when you made it, and it's as good as you could have made it at the time. And what's the profit in going back and retweaking something that's already finished? No, you make more new stuff.
Maybe Fred shouldn't have gotten the girl after all. Maybe there's a typo on line 38 of page 85 that is going to haunt your dreams. If you let them, these regrets...
Dude, if you're worried about typos, you're in the wrong line of work. Because you can have something proofed and reproofed and proofed again and reproofed again, and then you can go read it to make an audiobook out of it, and then you can make it again, and then you can go back and reproof it again, and you know what's going to happen. You're always going to find more typos. It's just how it works. Whether it's done through 16 different editors in New York, or you with your buddy and your mom and your sister's former roommate doing your homemade publishing thing, sort of what I do. There's always going to be typos. Yeah, when you discover them, you fix them as best you can, but if you're sitting up about them, dude.
Regrets will ruin your life. You will be thinking about what could have been, you will be imagining ways you could go back and fix it, all sorts of things. Of course, there's a solution. Never finish. Of course, never finishing means never sharing, never publishing if that's your goal.
This is a horrible idea. Unless you want to never make any money from your writing. Einstein's rules. Rule number 1, you must write. Rule number 2, you must finish what you write. And then 3, you must never rewrite except at editorial demand. You must put it on the market, and you must keep it on the market. Those were his business rules, how he made money from writing. And if you don't care about having anybody read your stuff, fine, never finish. Don't care about making any money from stuff, fine, never finish. But that's not how it works in the real practical world. And Carl's being facetious here, but anyway.
Never letting your story do the thing it and all other stories are meant to do. Your story will never make a difference in the world. No one will ever...
Fiction doesn't make a difference in the world. Fiction doesn't change the world. It's for enjoyment. I hate when people talk this way.
Never experience it, but you. No one will ever enjoy it. It will never change anyone's life. It won't make you a single dollar. But you will have not let it go. You will still have the opportunity to make it perfect. You will still have the opportunity to fix all of its flaws. And by keeping it there, you will never have to come to grips with any of your own flaws, and you will be able to hold on to the image that you are a perfect writer and can create a perfect piece of work that is beyond any sort of criticism. This, of course, is a fantasy and a sign that you're failing to accept this harsh truth. You've gripped your novel so closely, but to fully realize your novel, you need to let go. Your novel needs to be finished. Just like this video is finished. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this video, even though it was kind of negative, which I usually don't do, but it's a nice change, and found the advice in it useful. If you want to see more stuff like this, you can check out all my other writing advice related videos and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.
And you should, because Carl's a good dude. I give him a little flack on this one, but he actually does have a lot of good stuff out there. And the reason I bring up some of his videos is when on my channel here is because I like what he has to say. He seems like a genuine dude. Also, he's got a how to finish your novel course, which maybe you want to check out. Or not, it's up to you. So we're going to revisit Carl here again in a few minutes, but the other thing that I wanted to talk through was the latest drama in writing world. And it's not really the latest drama, but this ongoing percolating drama amongst writers. And that's this paranoia about the AI stuff. It's a misnomer because AI is not AI, right? It's artificial, but it's not intelligent. It's just search algorithms and, probability matrices and things like that. It's not actual thought. It's not actual creativity. It's just, going through an algorithm and putting things in place. And of course, the writers are up in their arms because, oh my gosh, you're stealing my work to do your AI thing. And it's like, oh, not really. Sort of, kind of. I mean, that they fed a bunch of writers' works into the AI matrices to train the program and how to tweak its algorithms and stuff. But it's not like you can say, hey, give me a Dean Koontz novel, and the AI output will be an actual Dean Koontz novel, right? It'll be something that tries to approximate the style that Dean Koontz uses. But it's not going to be word for word. Writers are like, oh my gosh, it's plagiarism. No, it's not. Plagiarism is word for word copying. It's not what this is. But anyway, leave it to writers to never stop generating ways to make things dramatic. I really don't tend to like writers very much for that reason. But I came across two videos, one that's on the drama side and one that's on the not drama side, about the AI thing that I wanted to talk through and do my own reaction to, because that's the reason why I'm doing this, so I can say what I think. Yeah, so let's get into that. So this first one, this is Lady Taylor Rose. She's just as good at YouTube as I am. She's a little bit better. This was from it's a couple weeks ago now. I saved this video 6 days ago. But talking about some kind of drama that went in among writers on a writer forum, and I think it's illustrative of some of the weird thinking that people have, not her, but the writers she's talking about have about this thing. So let's go see what went on there.
Actual details. They're giving enough details to create victims, but not enough details to accurately assign blame.
She's got a great logo. Look at that.
My name is Taylor Rose and welcome back to my channel. Today we are talking about some fresh off the press book community drama. Editing Taylor here. So I just want to clarify that these are my personal opinions. Obviously everyone is entitled to their own over the last week, book threads and book talk have been in shambles, basically.
I've never been on Threads. I didn't know Threads existed until I started going to some of these writing video people. I had heard of Book Talk, but I don't go on TikTok. I don't want to melt my brain. But I know there's a big book community, especially if you're into romantasy over there. But that's not my gig, so I don't go there. But anyway, we'll see.
Because of this conversation that was happening over on Threads. And you can see the post that instigated everything here. I swear she had made another post shortly before or after this, but I can no longer find it. Maybe someone else has it. But the post that I can't find specifically named an indie published book that has since gotten a trad publishing deal. Basically, you can see her lending credence to the idea that people are going to like AI generated books. Immediately, you can see the top response to this was someone naming a book that meets this description. Obviously, that is a narrow scope of people that now all these readers are going to target and think this is who she was talking about. Some other authors did respond agreeing with her, saying they don't agree with using AI, which, like, I totally agree with you, but then they start getting defensive because people are upset about these posts because they are vague posting. They aren't giving actual details. They're giving enough details to create victims.
I think in the YouTube space they call this gay ops. I'm not sure. Regardless, it's a very feminine way of talking around an issue and casting blame without having to actually point a finger, which I say feminine because, let's face it, guys tend to be a lot more blunt about things. Like, dude, you're AI, mother trucker. Damn right I am. No, I'm not. Girls are a little more around the curve about it. But anyway.
But not enough details to accurately assign blame. And you can see her big response to people being mad, right? Are authors baiting the internet with vague posting? Or are we sounding the alarm as safely as we can because we see the very real end to our professions coming at us like a freight train and are refusing to lie down and take it silently? Are we signaling our resistance to every grifter licking their chops at the idea of an AI cash grab? Are we praying our publishers do the right thing and value the long-term survival of our entire industry over immediate profit? And no, I don't think you're sounding the alarm. We already know this is happening. This is an active conversation across book communities about how AI is infiltrating all these authors.
Okay, so this is the sort of dramatic false moralization. I'm sounding the alarm. I'm fighting for my business. Oh my gosh, they're gonna take down my profession. No. It's not a moral crusade. Writing's not gonna go away. AI's not gonna destroy the profession. It might destroy yours if you're not any good, or you're not willing to adjust the times and flex and make use of a tool if you need to make use of it. But it's not going to destroy the profession. It may weed out. Yeah, there will be grifters who come along and just do AI cash grabs like this person said, but it's this person that Taylor's quoting said. But that's true of everything all the time. That's not, again, it's not a moral crusade. And it's not the end of all things. I think there's one more thing that she's going to talk about, but then I want to get to the other video. Let's move on a second.
That are posting together about this have turned this conversation onto the reader, while in the same breath agreeing that there is no tell to AI. How is the average reader any reader supposed to know whether or not a book is written by AI unless there's a prompt left in or the author admits to it? There's no other way to tell. You cannot tell. Despite what all the little theorists online are saying about AI writing, you can't tell. It's not like visual art. So Megan,
A lot of times you can't tell in visual art either. A couple of years ago you could, because they would put 7 fingers on a hand or something, but it's been refined since then. There is some AI, not AI, generative art, I guess generative AI art out there that if you weren't told it wasn't generative AI, you wouldn't know just by looking at it. There are sometimes tells, like the Google, was it VO3 thing that came out, all those various video streams, the 8-second video clips that they put out from it. There's a certain sameness to how it's made that you can pick up on. Or if there's this great YouTube channel, Stormtrooper Vlogs. They use a lot of AI in their thing, and it's just 2 stormtroopers who are just like sarcastic grunts just going about their day. Bitch ass Vader sent us over here. Oh my god, we're gonna die. Well, okay, we didn't die. But if you look at they use a lot of AI video in it, and you could kind of tell from the way it's set up that it's an AI thing, but it's getting harder and harder.
B. writes, who honestly is my hero across these comment sections. She says, "You guys are baiting the internet because indie authors are now getting accused, and this isn't okay. Just name drop the person. If you truly refuse to lie down, you just drop the name." And I agree. They want the whistleblower aesthetic, and they don't actually want to be a whistleblower because then you get in trouble. So there was someone, author Ashley Godchild, who was posting like, "You guys are crazy. Why are y'all overreacting like this?" Who then, as she learned more about the situation, did come back and be like, "Since posting this, I've been corrected that a trad author did in fact heavily influence, if not begin, the indie witch hunt. My bad, y'all." Which, good for her. But I did like a lot of responses to her threat.
All right, I think I had thought that there was another part of this, but that I wanted to get to. But I think the whole the moralizing commentary was what I really wanted to get to with her. But let's get over here to this other guy, the nerdy novelist, who openly, this is from about a year ago, who openly uses AI. And let's hear what he's got to say about the whole thing. Because I think his take is worth hearing.
A lot of the haters out there will tell you that authors who use AI aren't really authors. And in this case, I actually agree. We're something bigger, and I'll tell you what that is today. Hello everyone, welcome back to The Nerdy Novelist, and be sure to stick around to the end of this video because I have a big announcement that I think you're going to want to hear. But first, let's talk about why...
We're not going to stop for that because that was a year ago. But anyway.
Authors who use AI aren't really authors, or at least that's not how I see us. Now, don't get me wrong. If you identify strongly as an author and you want to use AI in some method to enhance that process, then by all means, go ahead and identify as an author. There is nothing holding you back from being an author. AI has nothing to do with whether you are an author or not. However, if you're like me or a lot of the other authors out there who are using AI heavily in their process in order to dramatically improve their results and the amount of work that we are able to put out, we like to think big, okay? And I'm thinking big here, and I don't think that the word author is really enough to actually describe what an AI author is currently able to do, and certainly what an AI author will be able to do in the future. To show you what I mean, let me briefly talk about where I see this industry going, perhaps as early as the next couple of years, certainly by the next 5 to 10 years. This is what I'm seeing. We're currently having a lot of advancements with AI text and AI art currently, and those are really the 2 industries that are blowing up in the creative field. However, we're starting to see the beginnings of the same revolution happening in other creative fields like video games, 3D models, text to video generators, in much in the same way that we have text to image generators, and a whole slew of others, audio, music, basically any creative field that you can think of. And
This is true. Um, I know for a fact there are a lot of professional musicians who are using AI tools to help create their music now. In the video game space, the Wayward Realms, which is a project that I backed on Kickstarter last year, it's being done by some of the guys who originally worked on Daggerfall, and they wanted to be the true Daggerfall, you know, uh, successor. They are intentionally using a lot of the generative dungeon type stuff, but also they have an overall plot set up, but they have also integrated a large language model into their code so that as the player does their thing, the game will be able to adapt and twist and create new quests and new side things going on as a direct reaction to the player, as opposed to having a scripted out thing that allows a certain amount of choice. Their vision is to have something that adjusts itself on the fly. Now they say the overall plot of the world, overall plot of the gameplay, the big picture plot of the gameplay is going to be scripted out, but there's going to be a lot of stuff that's going to be generative AI, large language model type stuff as people go about their day, as they interact with NPCs and the game adjusts to them, right? And if they can make that work, that sounds pretty awesome, frankly. I backed it because I like those big fantasy role playing game type stuff. But as I've been in their radio podcasts and stuff talking about what they're doing with their development, it's like, man, this sounds like it's gonna be really cool. And large language models, generative AI stuff is enabling it, right? So that's the sort of project that points towards the future that this guy is talking about.
This is why people are scared, because there really isn't an artistic field that is safe here. And a lot of these fields are not quite as developed as the AI text or AI image fields are right now, but they are where AI text and image fields were a year ago. And so we already have seen the amount of advancement that we've seen with text and images. We're going to see that happen with video and with video games and whatever you can think of.
Yeah, we saw that. Like I pointed out, the Google VO3 thing. We saw that just a few weeks ago, right? It could only do 8 seconds at a time for now, but you can if you script out, 8-second blocks of stuff, you can AI generate some hefty videos. And there's one that I saw, I forget what it was. It was a couple minutes long. It was all AI generated, and it was scripted out using 8-second blocks from VO3, and it was pretty awesome. You still had to have a person script it, but it was, but it was great. Anyway.
What this means is that it's going to be significantly easier in the near future to have or create a video game knowing nothing about code, or to create a movie based on whatever you want to base it on. The costs are going to come down significantly compared to where they were before. And it's interesting because there's this writer's strike going on in Hollywood right now, which, by the way, I fully support. The writers, Hollywood is a supremely corrupt system. But it's funny that the writers are a little bit worried about how the Hollywood studios are going to use AI, and they don't want to get cut out because of that. But I actually think And this is really what I do think. I think the Hollywood studios are actually the ones in trouble. When we saw
Yeah, the VO3 thing.
the self-publishing revolution in the early 2010s, where Amazon released the Kindle and made it possible for anybody to self-publish, we saw this happen with the traditional publishing space. Since then, they've been consolidating publishers and really trying to hang on for dear life to their old business models, which simply do not work anymore. And I think as AI makes video and gaming more accessible, these huge, enormous studios that create content are suddenly going to become the traditional publishers of the next decade, right? They're going to be new people coming in and creating much cheaper, much more accessible content, and they're going to be smaller studios popping up that don't need these big studios because they're able to do a lot of it themselves using AI. And for those of us that are keeping tabs on AI, like pretty much all of you watching, we're going to be able to take advantage of these opportunities. So you can see why just saying author doesn't quite sound like enough of a word. We could just say storyteller, where we're kind of lifting ourselves above one writing medium where all we're doing is writing books because that's the cheapest form of entertainment that we can actually do with our time. But once we have access to movies or games or audio dramas or whatever we want to do with far less effort than it was before, then what could we do with that? So here's what I actually see happening in the near future. I think we're going to start to see the rise of independent publishers, hopefully like myself, who, they do publish books. That's like a big part of their revenue stream. But then maybe you've got a little bit of a publishing house that is a multimedia publishing house. So yes, you'll probably publish books, maybe publish a lot of books, publish other people's books. But then maybe you have a theatrical film guy or an animated television guy or a video game guy whose job it is, their only job is to just create video games or movies or animated movies or what have you. And you just have this with a single person who's able to manage all that. And so you have this small company of a couple of employees that's able to do a lot of cool stuff. I think that's legitimately going to be possible within 5 to 10 years. So once again, you can kind of see why I think the term author is simplistic. We're really not going to be building single stories. We're going to be building these story empires. And that's what I like to think of my own work. I like to think of it as a storytelling empire that books are just a small part of. So
Yeah, so I think this guy, frankly, has a lot better feel on for things than the pearl clutching writers that Taylor was referring to do. Because frankly, the AI thing, it's not going away. It's here. It's we're just gonna have to deal with it and make use of it. And creative people are going to make use of it. And people can be like, "Oh my gosh, it's impure." It's like, oh, you can clutch at your pearls all you want, but I mean, the world is what it is, and things have moved on a bit, and we have to adjust. Like, now, do I use generative AI in my writing? No. But let me show you this. So, this is my stories from the Great Challenge. As I'm looking at it now, I was like, man, I could have made that title font a bit better. But this is me back. I've done this a couple times. I've done the whole, let's write a short story a week for a year. I did that in 2019 going into 2020. I also did it in 2023, just to push my limits and help myself grow as a writer and also get past some things. But there are 52 stories in this book. I read them in the course of a year, right? So of the 52 stories in that book, probably a third of them are like chapter one, or, you know, maybe not of a novel, but the first story in, you know, a series of short works or whatever. In fact, I've done some of that. I've expanded on some of them. My Dustin Cofield is my. Yeah, let me show you this. Only got two two stories published here. I've written much more than this, but like Dustin Cofield is my favorite. One of my favorite characters that I've written in about. He's a secret agent. He works for Santa Claus, sort of, right? He's the backstory is that Santa Claus had the elves were not happy with Santa Claus, and they wanted to form a union. And Santa Claus was like, yeah, we're not doing that. And the elves said, okay, well, go screw yourself. We're out of here, right? We're out of here. We're not working for you anymore. And we're done. And then they set off in the world, and they're trying to take Santa Claus out and trying to screw Christmas up and do their own thing because they're mad at Santa Claus. Dustin Cofield is a secret agent who works for an agency that doesn't exist to take down the rogue elves and help preserve Christmas. Now, Dustin Cofield, his agency has a combat suit. It's made from the same fabric as Santa Claus's coat. Because he's been in contact with the elves for so long, there's a residual magic thing that helps protect the agents in the agency from the elves' tricks, right? And it looks just like it's a bodysuit, and he's got a gun holster and a bunch of other things. But he's got a white hood, and he got a half face mask, and it's all fuzzy like Santa's suit, right? And it's just kind of silly, and Dustin hates putting it on every time he does because it's just the most ridiculous thing ever, but it's effective, right? So I'm putting together a collection of Dustin Cofield stories, of a 10-story collection that I'm going to put out here later this year. The problem is, how do I get good cover art for a thing like that? Because I use a lot of stock art for my various covers, but a guy with a holster and a Santa suit with a hood, but he's also a superhero kind of looking dude. It's like, how the hell do you do that? So I have gone over to Grok, and I've done a little bit of just experiments with the AI, generative AI on Grok, just to see what maybe, not just as a concept thing that I can hand off to a human artist and go from. Well, let me show you these things. So these are some of the possibilities that Grok has come up with, right? So that's kind of lame looking. That's okay looking. That's okay looking. That's okay looking. That looks good. But Dustin has a girlfriend named Nora who, I don't like that one at all. I can't. But maybe we should include Nora in there. Well, hey, here's Nora. We can have a little thing come up with Nora. Where's Nora? Okay, I'm losing it here. Let's get rid of some of these. Dustin Cofield, Nora. Here. Hey, Nora. Maybe that could work for Dustin and Nora. Maybe not, right? But this is all stuff that I'm using generative AI to get ideas for covers. And I can feed that to a human artist or whatever and get somebody to draw it the way I want. But, using stock art. I can't do it. And I can use that generative AI tool to maybe give some ideas for an artist to work with, right? But it'd be really hard to do that and do it well without that tool that I've used, right? In addition, right, the all those stories that are, chapter ones, I don't have time to write 15 different series of books, perhaps, or 15 different series of short stories. But I could maybe get a good AI thing that you can. There's ways now to download it onto a Linux server that you own, and so you say it's self-contained, and maybe I just feed a couple stories in there and give it prompts to generate, episodes 20 through 25, or maybe not. I haven't done it yet. I may never do it, but I don't think that's immoral for me to do that with my work. Right? You could argue the morality or ethics of trying to recreate somebody else's work with it, but I don't think for a person doing their own, using AI to generate their own stuff, using their own ideas, because it's not like these things work where it just spawns out of nothing. You have to feed it, right? The large language model is only good for a couple thousand words at a time, right? You got to give it specific direction. And what I learned doing those attempts at Dustin Cofield images is that it's just going to run wild and do all kinds of goofy, stupid stuff. You got to be very specific what you tell it to do, otherwise it'll be just stupid. So it's not like a one click and you're done. Using it is a process. Have I used it for writing? No. I've played with it for covers. Might I use it for writing in the future on characters that I have created and stories that I don't have time to write but think would be cool to continue on with as a force multiplier to make it faster to do a story for those characters that I like? Maybe. Haven't yet, but maybe. But I don't think it's this moral crusade that some writers think it is. It's certainly not a copyright problem, because copyright protects the form that has printed it, right? It's like, oh, they're stealing my copyright to train the AI model. Well, if the AI model isn't going and duplicating your work, if it's using your work as a reference point, so does every other writer who has ever read your work. Right now, copyright law won't protect stuff that's purely AI generated, right? There has to be human influence to it. It's still working its way through the courts, where the dividing line is on that, but I don't think that writers do themselves any service by panty twisting as much as some writers are on this topic. Anyway, that's all we got to say about that. Moving on. Do I want to go back to Carl, or do I want to talk we'll talk the other thing first. So I'm not a comics book guy. I have, of course, I liked comic books in junior high and high school, and I've back over there got a couple small totes with my comics from back in the day. X-Men and Wolverine and a bunch of other things like that I liked, and some of them are worth some money now, amazingly enough. But the indie comics world is a thing. It's become a bigger thing over the last several years, and I've gotten to know a couple people in that world. And but over the last couple of months, I've gotten to investigate it a little more, learned a little bit more about it, just because I don't remember exactly why, but I started to. And I tell you, I'm really disappointed on the jackassery that is going on there in this tribal hate fest that's going on in that world. Back in the day, rotate 10 years ago, people were doing independent. People have always been doing independent comics, but there was a back around the time that people were getting started, cancel culture started getting going really, really roughly. Some of the folks who got booted from DC and Marvel started doing their own thing, and then Vox Day ran a crowdfunding thing. Some people talked him into doing a comic, and he crushed it, like make $250,000 or something. And after that, some of these other guys did too, and Ethan Van Sciver in particular just crushed with what he was doing, because he had a big name in comics drawing world forever, and he just went on to make a whole bunch of money. And his buddies who used to be in that world are going on and made a bunch of money. And then over the last few years, Eric July, who has made his name from being an anti-woke dude, decided to get in the thing, and he started his Rippaverse. He made a whole bunch of money, and everybody's doing fine. But then you get the standard internet, YouTube drama started, and rifts started happening between them, and now everybody's casting shade on everybody, and everybody's being, frankly, retarded because, well, it might draw clicks to, have my tribe versus your tribe. It would probably be better for everybody, business-wise, to just work together and be support each other. And I know there's always personalities involved. When there's personalities involved, there's always somebody who's going to do their pennies in a bunch. But I think this guy has the right of it here.
Which it shouldn't be this way. It should be indie creators helping other indie creators, and it should be people just enjoying comics that are not woke trash. So,
agreed. 100%, brother. Of course, that guy is one of the guys who likes to go and throw shade against he's on the Eric July Ripa side. He likes to throw shade on the other side, but he's right about that. Not really, I don't want to get into this whole drama thing, but there was a couple of videos I found as I've been learning about this whole, whatever you want to call it, that I thought were interesting from a business perspective that I wanted to talk through. So, from the business of writing, what have you, and both creative business and just business in general. So, let's go over here to Niobe Gaming, talking about how Eric July in the Rippaverse is superior to Comicsgate in every single way. Well, let's see why.
The thing is, and you can really compare the Rippaverse with Comicsgate by four main categories: vision, execution, community, and resilience. Okay, those are your four categories. So the clearer vision is just, Eric's vision is, I want to make, the priority is to make a brand new universe, a brand new version, his version, right, of the MCU. He wants his own characters alive and thriving in his own world. Everything is connected. Everything matters. Everything counts. The problem with Comicsgate is they don't have that, okay? They rather fight culture war.
Well, leaving aside the culture war thing, I'm not sure that's correct what he's saying there, but leaving aside the culture war thing, why is the big integrated universe thing superior? My understanding what the Van Sciver and the Comicsgate dudes are doing is they're just doing their thing. They're just, making comics that they want to make, and some of them are culture warriors and some of them are not. Eric July is explicitly a culture warrior. That's why he made his whole name on. So saying that he's not about that is false. But why is it better to do this whole grand encompassing world than to not. I'm not certain that it is. This guy, I don't know much about this Niobe Gaming guy. From his voice, he sounds young. I think he said he's been doing this for about 10 years, so I think he's probably a millennial type guy, so he grew up with the MCU and all this sort of thing. And so that's what he's used to in movies. And I know that's what you can say, hey, Gaineswood, Marvel and DC did their universes. Yeah, okay, true. I don't know that much about comic history because I'm not a comics guy, but I can almost guarantee you, at least I have to believe, that, when Stan Lee sat down, he wasn't like, hey, man, we're going to make this huge big, we're going to make this thing with Doctor Strange over here, and the X-Men over here, and the Avengers over here, and Iron Man over here, and everybody else over there, and the Guardians of the Galaxy over there, and Silver Surfer doing his thing over here, and what? No, it's going to... It can't have been that way. It's something that had to have grown organically, right? Start with a few characters, a few stories, add more over time, and branch out and go. Part of the reason why the DC films keep falling in the faces is they're trying to do everything all at once, and then it becomes a jumbled mess. The reason the MCU worked in the cinema and the movies is because they had one character at a time, made you care about them, and gradually put them in. Trying to do it all at once can be a big problem. In the prose writing world, especially in fantasy, there's an issue with people spend so much time on world building. World building, make this great, awesome world, and it's like, oh man, I got these countries over here, and they're in conflict with this thing over here, and this race over here, and the elves over there, and the dwarves over there, and they do all this stuff, and they never actually write their novel. Right? They spend, every now and then you have somebody like Tolkien who built his world over 20 or 30 years, and then writes the novel, and it's amazing, right? But that's not the norm. Most people are not that smart and not that dedicated, or frankly don't have a position as a professor in Oxford where he's able to, or was it Cambridge, whichever one, where they have the the guaranteed income, where they have the luxury of extra time to do that with. But the point is that organic growth, I think, is a more likely to generate success in making a great, encroaching, awesome world than not. And I haven't read any of Eric's books, but I have seen some of the critiques of them, saying that ISOM and Gyra and all those suffered because they put so many characters in that were completely unrelated, and it lost the plot, and what the hell's going on here, and why do I care about any of it, right? Whereas if you just focus, again, I don't know, I haven't read it, but that's what the critiques suffered. But even if that wasn't the case, let's say he's pulling it off wonderfully. I don't know, I haven't read it. He's pulling it off wonderfully. Why is that superior than some other dude over here just doing his own thing and making his books over here with his buddy over here is doing his own thing, making a different book over there? Why is that superior? You could say, well, Marvel and DC did it that way and they made more money. Okay, well, if that's the metric you're going to go by, then okay, that's fine. But that's not the only metric. From a creative point of view, I mean, it's not superior, it's just more profitable, right? I think with this dude, again, never met this guy, but he's falling for the idea that consolidated and controlled and top down necessarily means better, maybe, which is weird because Eric July is he's an anarcho-capitalist libertarian type guy. He doesn't want top down control of things. It's not what he's going for in life, but this guy seems to be advocating for it in comics. Not Eric. I don't know what Eric's, but this guy seems to be saying that sort of consolidated control is by definition better, which I don't know that it is. But even if it was, that doesn't then necessitate being in an ideological or tribal war with people who are doing things differently. It's just a different business model. I don't get it. It's just different ways of doing things, different ways of creating the world. It's both can exist and both can be successful and both can be cool. Why one should be opposed to the other and proclaim that it's superior to the other is beyond me. Again, one may make more money than the other. But so what? If we're talking about, creative arts here and putting cool stuff out for the world for people to enjoy, why do we got to run the other one down? Because it makes less money, or vice versa. If one makes less money and says, I make less money, but I'm superior to the other way that makes more money, why do you got to run the other one down? Yeah, I get it. You're trying to drive YouTube clips or whatever. Or if you're the underdog is maybe making less money, you want to make the guy who's making more money look bad so that maybe you drive more customers your way. But, I mean, that doesn't mean it's... And that's all legit from a business rhetoric thing, but some of these guys are talking about it like it's some great moral crusade. Okay, going back to this guy, the first guy that I quoted, he was saying it would be great if everybody was just going on, Renowned here, Renowned Zero. I don't know who he is, but he's definitely on the Ripa side. He's going to bring up the other side of it, the money side, which I think is interesting to talk about too. He's definitely sort of on the moral superiority side too, but he's talking money here. Let's see what he's got to say.
You got Yara number 3's collection at 1,454 in total books sold. I've yet to put in my pre-order. I will be doing so after this video goes live. 41,301 total sales. And why this is important? Because you have your usual furry clowns who sit there and act as if you're going to, screenshot this right at the beginning of the campaign going live. Meanwhile, it's beating out this trash campaign right over here with the $100 hoodie of Salamandroid, decimating it completely within the first couple of hours. But that's beyond the point. Now I'm moving on over to ISOM number 3's pre-order collection at 15 days, 7 hours, 13 minutes, and 35 seconds. Sitting in at 9,585 in total books sold, at 558,000 in total sales. Absolutely destroying Cyberfrog 3 in its initial 30 to 60 days of being live from 2 years ago. Also beating out Ethan Van Sciver's Rainbow the Brute that's been live for almost 4 years. So what are we talking about here exactly? So you're sitting there doing this nonsense with the Yara number 3 campaign, yet the ISOM number 3 campaign beats out Cyberfrog 3's sales in its initial launch, as well as Rainbow the Brute's entire launch. So we're sitting here talking about how the Ripperverse is failing, quote unquote, meanwhile it's beating out every single CG in recent time.
Okay. Cool. I mean, that's awesome. I'm glad they're doing so well. So one of the things I'd like to do, I haven't done it as much recently, but if you've been on my channel and you've looked at my videos and some of my shorts, you've seen I go sailing. I've gone sailing with my buddies. There's a sailing channel here called Reversing Entropy, which has a video about him that I think is apropos here. Go with me on this.
Did you know that charging your phone with a wireless charger is only 70% efficient? It's like trying to fill a glass of water like this. 30% of your power is just wasted. Aboard a sailboat, there are a lot of situations like this. Some are big, some are smaller, but put them all together and they make a huge difference. It's about doing the exact same things using much less power. Aboard Starry Night, we only have 2 solar panels, and yet we have a big freezer running 24/7. We cook only using induction. We have a microwave oven and we use it every day. Dishwasher that we use every single day. Wi-Fi router connected to the internet and connected to Starlink. And this thing is running 24/7. TV that we use for many hours every single day. And if it's a sunny day, we actually have excess power that we put into our water heater and we can all have hot showers. My point is, we are not exactly camping over here. I will show you all the things that you can do to use your power more efficiently.
He's talking about power on a sailboat, which sailboat, if you don't know, sailboats, right, you're away from land. You just have a battery pack and you got a diesel engine. And a lot of times sailboats nowadays, almost if you're going cruising on a sailboat, you got solar panels on there. And some people have wind generators, but not so much anymore because they're noisy and they can't use them in certain conditions, and they're bulky. Solar panels have gotten a lot better, so people put solar panels on their boats. And there's a lot of discussion about, oh man, I need more and more solar panels, more and more solar panels, more and more solar panels. But sometimes they lose out on the efficiency side, and so they don't get the punch out of their panels that they could per se. The point is, and his graphic for this was, it's not about how much power you generate, right? So, you know, my man here, Renowned Zero, he's right. I mean, Ripa's been putting in, getting a lot of money. More than the Vince Scaver guys have been, which I don't know why that matters. Because it's not a dick measuring contest, right? But just revenue isn't the only thing here, right? It's different business models. Let's go over here. It's also a matter of outflow, cash flow. Somebody told me, and I saw somebody on Twitter a week or two ago. It's like, hey, look at that. The Ripaverse guys, the Ripaverse has generated $2.6 million of revenue so far this year. I'm like, hey, that's great. And it is great. I love that they're doing so well. What's their outflow? Right, so this is their transparency update from 2023, right? Things are different, but look at what some things is going on here, right? The first quarter, the last fiscal quarter when they wrote this, they put $350,000 of payroll expense with 15 employees. They spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on other things, and they have at least $15,000 per month on rent for their warehouse. Okay, cool. So 350,000 times 4 is 1.4 million. 15,000 per month times 12 is 180,000. So that's $1.6 million. Oh wait, no, because $350,000 in payroll, is that including benefits? Let's assume it is. So that's $1.6 million a year of overhead before any variable costs of printing and shipping and packing and all other sort of things go on, right? Okay. This year, right now, their website has only 11 employees listed, right? So Eric makes probably more than all the rest of them, but let's say they've got an average, let's just say an average salary of 80 grand a year. Maybe. No, let's just go with that. All right, so that times 12, that's 960,000. Double that to account for retirement accounts and benefit packages and Social Security tax and all that. That's 1.9 million a year. Okay, cool. Add the 180,000 for the warehouse space. Now you're at 2.1 million per year in overhead before you've added any variable costs for printing, shipping, inventory costs, whatever, what have you. So if you made 2.6 million so far this year, well, okay, great. You've probably covered your overhead for the year, maybe. But yeah, are you okay? Cool. Now compare that to Van Sciver, who says it's just him and his wife doing his thing. And I think he's got a warehouse now, and he keeps talking about boys who are in there who are doing it for him. So let's say, I don't know how many, he hasn't disclosed how many people he's employing, but let's assume there's 3 people times 80,000 a year. That's 240,000 a year. Double that for benefits, and give another 100,000 for, let's say Ethan's getting another 100,000. Ethan and his wife, he pays himself and his wife 100,000 a year, 200,000 after benefits, the 680. Let's assume that there's 15,000. Let's assume he's paying the same amount of rent. So you got 180,000 for the warehouse, plus 400,000 for Ethan and his wife, plus we have 480,000 for the rest. He's got 1,060,000 in overhead compared to the 2.1 that July and the Rippaverse does. It's just me pulling numbers out of my butt, and I'm not trying to say that one of them's better than the other. What I am trying to say is that merely going and looking at revenue, like my boy Renowned Zero here is, and saying that because greater revenue, therefore doing better in business. No, dude, no. That's only part of the thing. You got to look at the whole picture. If you're going to make a judgment based on money and cash flow, you can't just do it based on revenue. Right? I mean, that's just dumb. But let's say all that's out of the world, and Rippaverse really is completely crushing the Comicsgate guys in revenue, in profit, actual profit. So what? Why does that make them better than the Comicsgate guys? Right? I mean, you may not like the personalities of the Comicsgate dudes, or the Comicsgate dudes may not like Eric July's personality, but that's fine. You may not like the product. You may think that the Cyberfog thing is crap, and Isom and Yaira are the best, or vice versa. Or was it Shane Davis's thing, the Dino, whatever it is? Okay, well, that's a personal preference. It doesn't mean they're inherently or morally or whatever better than the other. It just means you don't like it as much. Why there has to be this pseudo-moral crusade in the indie comics world is beyond me. It's just the most gay, stupid, retarded thing ever. Like Renowned Zero said here in the first video of his that I pulled up, it should just be people who like comics who are doing it independently supporting each other. Now, Eric's got a different business model. He intentionally is setting up a publishing arm, and now he's got his Rip His Hand thing, and he's helping other people publish their own stuff through him, and good for him. That's a cool thing. Ethan's kind of throwing shade on it, saying that it's the only way he can keep his cash flow going right, and I don't know about that, and I don't really care. I like to think that Eric's being true, and then he's like, hey, man, he wants to help other people get their work out there. And he does get more profit for his business, so hey, it's cool. But it's this whole jackastic tribal chicanery is so stupid and dumb and gay. I don't understand it. It's also nobody thinks it through at all. So that's enough about indie comics. Hey, ETL. You just started reading my book and you're liking it so far. Well, I'm glad you liked it. Glad you're liking it, rather. And thanks for popping in. Hey, look at that. I actually got a chat. This is the funnest thing ever. Maybe I'll actually do more of these live streams as time goes on. But as I figure out the right way to do them, I've had a few miscues about them over the weeks, but I think we're maybe starting to get a feel for it now. But anyway, That's my thoughts on the indie comic jackastic, stupid tribal thing. I think it's wasteful. I think it's dumb. I think both sides who talk trash about each other are missing the big picture. And it really should be what that guy Renowned Zero said. People who like comics supporting each other to put out comics. It's the dumbest thing ever. Now, again, I'm not a comics guy. I'm not in the game. I'm just looking at it from the outside and finding some of it amusing. And frankly, the Comicsgate guys who hate Eric are a lot more funny than the Rippaverse guys who hate Ethan. But it's like, come on, guys. Can we stop being gay and stupid and so dumb? Anyway, back to writing, and back to my boy Carl. We're going to talk another thing about another video he put out here called 3 People Who Will Destroy Your Novel, and You're Not Going to Believe Who He Thinks They Are. Or maybe you will. Let's go see.
But your novel is under threat. Not from AI or paper-eating insects or like water damage or anything, but from something much more terrifying. People. Some of the people you encounter out in the real world, should you ever dare venture into it, are not good for your novel. Some of them will outright destroy it. So let's talk about some of these folks and what you can do to prevent them from hurting your manuscript or whatever. Beginning with...
There's a reason why God invented concealed carry. I'm just kidding. Anyway.
The worst type of critic you will encounter. There are basically 3 types of critics that most writers will encounter out there. You have your critique partners, editors, beta readers. These are folks...
They all suck.
...that will give you legitimate advice on how to improve your writing.
Beta readers might. Critique partners, they're amateurs. Professional editors can be helpful.
And you should generally listen to their criticisms when they make sense and make changes based on those criticisms. Next, you have what I'm going to call, and pardon my French here, the negative Nellies. I should probably bleep that out or I'm going to upset a bunch of advertisers. These are basically just trolls who want to trash you and discourage you for all sorts of psychological reasons that mostly have stuff to do with them and not really stuff to do with you.
Yeah, it's envy because you're doing something they couldn't do. Or they want to do but haven't bothered to try to do. Or just because they're evil.
These types of people can be ignored most of the time, usually, although that's kind of a tough thing to do sometimes. Their opinions don't really matter, they're usually ignorant and uninformed, and they're basically just criticizing you to get a rise out of you. Those 2 types of critics are not the worst types of critics, though. The worst types of critics that most novel writers need to deal with are well-meaning people in your life who will unconsciously try to keep you from improving. There's a few different terms for this. Some people call it the tall poppy syndrome. Other people...
I've never heard of that. A term that originated in Australia and New Zealand in the 1980s. It refers to people with notable public success who excessively promote their own achievements and opinions. Then scrutiny goes in terms of cutting down the tall poppy. Oh, okay. So you want to cut down the person who's doing better than you. Okay. Got it. Okay. That makes sense.
People refer to it as the crabs in a bucket theory.
Yeah, we all know that one.
When you have a bucket full of live crabs and one of the crabs tries to climb out of the bucket, but all the other crabs just sort of drag them back down with their crab hand things. I forget what those...
Their claws. And this is what critique groups are notorious for. It's all a bunch of amateur writers. Nobody knows what they're really talking about. And as soon as one of them starts getting... they start getting success, 1 or 2 will try to drag them down. I mean, women do this stuff to each other all the time, but sometimes guys do too. But it's like, I haven't really done much with critique groups, but what I've seen and heard about them, this is a thing, and that's part of the reason why I'm not interested in them.
Things are called. So they prevent the one crab from escaping to better things and keep them stuck in the bucket. That's what people around you will often try to do if you try to improve yourself, if you try to do something meaningful like write a novel. This is not necessarily done out of
Huh. What do you think? Do you like the shelf that he's got here now better than the one in the last video of his I did? I think that's a nicer shelf, but is it the same room? It's definitely a nicer shelf. The paint in the background's better too. But yeah, it's definitely a better shelf. I'm sorry. Anyway.
malice or negative reasons, though sometimes it is, but it can have negative effects. It can be scary when someone else in your peer group succeeds at something, because that means that you too could succeed at that thing if you put the work in. It's often easier to maintain the status quo and keep that person from succeeding, or to discourage them in some way that comes across as well-meaning. It's often easier to do that than it is to face the psychological ramifications that you too could be successful. This is why other people surrounding you, if you try to improve, will try to prevent you from improving. This is why I think joining a writing group or some kind of community, either in person or virtual, where people write and write consistently is so important.
Disagree, because the people who, I guess it depends on the group, right? There are so many writers who are petty and dumb and self-absorbed, and no. I disagree with his assertion that the reason for the crab in the bucket thing is because it's hard, and it shows you how hard it is that you could be doing. No, it's not that. Is that it shows the person who's doing the crab pulling down that they aren't doing what they could do, what they can be doing, and they know they can't. So I guess it's different. It's a different way of putting it from what he said. I guess he's being more charitable. Because really the crab in the bucket thing is malicious. So let's not be charitable about it. These guys know they could be doing more, they're not, and they get bitter when they see somebody else who is. And there's a lot of that in writing groups. So I'm not sure that writing groups are a good idea.
These types of groups will help pull you forward and encourage you to keep writing.
Only if you're in a group with people who are above your level. Right? If you're in a group with a bunch of other amateurs and nobody knows what the hell they're doing, they're not going to be able to pull you higher because they're in the same muck as you are. But if you manage to get yourself in a group with people who are, at a little bit higher level than you are, they are able to help bring you up because they know what it takes to get there. And also, they're not going to be threatened by you coming to where they are as much as somebody might be threatened by you exceeding them, if that makes any sense. Except that writers have a bunch of gamma male types who are threatened by anybody who might be even attempting to be better than them. So there's always going to be a danger. The point is, just any writing group is not going to be a good idea. You got to pick and choose it.
Also, there can be kind of a reverse effect here where if everyone in your peer group is writing a novel, you will write one too because you don't want to fall behind. All right, the next person who is coming to destroy your novel, me.
That's true. How dare you, Carl?
That's right. I was the villain all along. That's why I'm wearing a black shirt now. Oh, I forgot to change my shirt. I played all of you for fools. This channel is actually an elaborate ruse to destroy every last one of your novel writing ambitions. Please remember to subscribe so that all my evil plans can come to fruition. We are living in a time where your eyeballs are incredibly valuable. As far as what content they're watching, not in a steal your organs and sell them on the black market sort of way. Every platform.
Although that would be cool from a writing prompt perspective. Yeah. It's not like in Hostel, where you lure the young guys into the town with the murder pit by promising them hot girls, you lure the unsuspecting writers in with the promise of mutual support, and then you take their organs. Think that would work? Might be a little too on the nose. Anyway.
Platform, and every creator on those platforms, myself included, wants you to consume as much of their content as possible. More views means more reach means more dollar bills and fame and success and everything else that comes along with that. Now, I justify this to myself when I'm crying alone in the dark hallways of my cavernous mansion at night by saying that my content is meant to encourage people to write, that it helps people get off the hedonic treadmill of the internet and pursue something creative and constructive. I may just be lying to myself to remove the guilt around the wealth that my vast YouTube empire has created.
You are. You got 7.37 thousand subscribers. You are rolling in it, man. You're rolling in it. I know you are.
But, I don't know, it sounds kind of good. The default state for most people is to become a consumer. You are bombarded every day by highly engineered content that is meant to suck hours out of your life. The best writers in the world are not on the New York Times bestsellers list.
Yeah, because that list is purchased. That list hasn't been real for decades. It goes from a select few bookstores, and the publishers know which ones, and then they pay to put the books in the right place and where people can buy them. And sometimes they'll hire people to go buy the books from those specific bookstores in order to make the list for the books that they want to be on the list. It's totally fake. USA Today list is better, but New York Times has not been real in decades.
They're writing email headlines and ad copy and things designed to take your time and your money away from you. Breaking free from all of that requires focused effort and a lot of self-discipline. Until you can overcome that, writing a novel will be incredibly difficult. Until you can overcome the distractions and everybody who's trying to pull your attention away from your project, it's going to be incredibly hard to finish. And lastly, the last person who's coming to destroy your novel, you.
What? No!
That's right. We trace the sabotage, and it's coming from inside the writer. Does that joke still land? That would have been hilarious in 1999.
No, it wasn't funny even then. But I like a good bad joke, so good on you, brother.
Younger viewers, there used to be this thing called the 20th century, and all the years started with 19. Wait, why was it called the 20th century then? That doesn't...
Dude, really?
The ability for a writer to completely mess up their own novel is astounding and terrifying. A lot of the responsibility for how your project turns out is ultimately on you. This filters down through every level of writing, all the way from whether you are actually sitting down to write or not, even down to what and how you write. When you avoid working on parts of the craft that don't interest you because you aren't good at them, you are the one standing in the way of your progress. When you ignore good feedback because it requires admitting that you were wrong about how to approach something, that's you blocking your own growth.
How dare you? How dare you, sir? Ignoring feedback. Who do you think I am, Eric July? Oh, I'm sorry. I had to get that thing in because, man, that guy is so thin-skinned. Anyway. Sheesh.
Even just your attitude towards this, if you believe that you have no power over the quality or quantity of writing that you produce, you're basically putting yourself in a situation where you can't win. You're telling yourself, you're making yourself believe that the external factors in the world have complete control over you, and there's nothing you can do to improve your writing or get more writing.
What are you talking about? You trying to tell... Are you trying to tell me that I'm in control of my own destiny? What?
Done. I don't think it's useful to debate how much external stuff versus internal stuff matters, but I think the attitude that your entire life and what you can do and what you can accomplish is completely driven by external factors, that attitude alone is very dangerous, especially when it comes to something like writing. At the end of the day, all that you have control over is the bag of meat that the electrical impulses coming from your brain are connected to. In my case, I have a bunch of like robotic arms and stuff that are wired into my brain, but that's beside the point. And if you don't have authority over that, or if you don't believe that you have authority over that, then what else can be done? You are basically setting yourself up for failure from day one.
Yeah, that's true. Like the Apostle Paul said, I beat my body and make it my slave. Right? He was talking about his pursuit of righteousness and doing God's will, but also it applies for everything, right? He's talking about, self-discipline. And self-control is a big thing in Christianity, and that's what he's talking about here too. So hey, good on you, Carl.
I've noticed this really insidious thing that a lot of the world does want you to succeed. A lot of the world is happy when you succeed at something. The world wants you to be successful, but oftentimes we ourselves, for whatever reason, don't want to be. So we don't put the time in, we don't put the work in, and that's ultimately on you at the end of the day. Well, it's on me for me, but on you for you get what I mean. Speaking of getting what I mean, I hope that throughout the course of this video you were getting what I mean or meant or whatever.
Yeah,
so
we did.
I'd love to hear.
Yeah, we did. Anyway, that's Carl again. He's a good dude. I generally find his videos to be kind of not always fun, but definitely got some insights that I can get from. And he's better at YouTube than I am, so always got to give props to somebody who's better than me. Anyway, holy cow! So how long have we been going here? Holy cow! Almost 2 hours. That's awesome. And that's all that I really wanted to cover. So let me show the video again. That's right. Warfare Qualified releases on June 30th, not July. So 1 week from tomorrow. And you can get it here on my site, MikeKingswood.com/store. You can also go over here to books2read.com/WQ Warfare Qualified. That will get you this universal book link aggregator where you show you all of the fun places, retail places where you can get it that are not from me, but it's best to come from me. Why is it best to come from me? Because you can get it in whatever format you want, and we could pay through a number of means you want, including if you want to give me Bitcoin for it. And it avoids the middleman, right? The author that you love gets more money this way, and so that's better that way. But regardless of how you want to do that, I would welcome your readership and your patronage, just as I welcome you being here with me on this stream. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. I've had fun doing it. I don't do enough of these. I probably should do some more. So I guess this week I'll look through and find some other things to talk about and react to, and I guess maybe next weekend we'll do this again. Meantime, have a good one. I'll see you on Tuesday. On Tuesday here on the channel, we are going through reading chapters from my heroic fantasy novel, Lunar Veil. This is the original cover. I've since updated the cover from it. I had this great artist. He did this great cover art on it, and the follow-ups to it. But the problem was it looked a little bit little bit like it was a middle grade young reader kind of thing, and so it wasn't really hitting the target audience as much, so I revised the covers a couple times. But I still use that on occasion for coolness. Anyway, we're getting down towards the end of that first book. It's a Sword and Sorcery series. It's basically I was like, hey, let's do Seven Samurai in a medieval fantasy setting with sword and sorcery stuff, and we're doing that in the first book, and then on the second book and on, they're continuing their adventures in different ways. And this week we're doing chapter 28, I think, 27, 28. There's 31 chapters in the book, so we're nearing down the end of it. After we finish up here at the end of July, I guess, we'll see what we're going to do on Tuesdays. But on Saturday, we always do Sorry Saturday, except for when fiascos happen like yesterday, which I'm not going to get into because it was too frustrating. But then Sorry Saturday, I generally read shorter fiction that I do, so you can have fun and you can enjoy it, and hopefully go check out more of the books. That's the whole purpose of this channel. Anyway, thanks for joining me. If you have been joining me, it's been fun. Make sure you have subscribed if you haven't already. Make sure you like, and come back next time. Until